while we do that, I've got a shout out to the Spidey Squad. The Spidey Squad is out there.
They're in full force now.
They're in full force on Twitter, Facebook. Evan Filarca, I saw you in the chat earlier. Also, Vigilante Spider, congrats on graduating high school. That's awesome, man. And you Spidey Squad guys, we love your enthusiasm. We love seeing you guys out there. So you can always join up with them. Hashtag Spidey Squad on Twitter. And they're always talking about the game, and you can also follow the hashtag Spider-Man PS4 on Twitter.
Yeah,
which is
is that crazy? Like, doesn't Spidey Squad have like 14,000 followers or something?
Yeah, they
crazy?
have it. They've got a huge group of
I
people.
could be wrong, but I could have sworn maybe I was delirious when I was in Paris. But like, I was like, wow, they got an amazing amount of followers. That's awesome.
Yeah, we're sorry we have to starve you guys of info at times, but it's all for a good cause. We're making the game, and hopefully you get some cool stuff.
Raindrops are falling on my head, and just like the guy whose feet are too big for his bed, nothing seems to fit. Those raindrops are falling on my head, they keep falling, nothing's worrying me.
I mean, I'm pretty sure 1,400 followers is close to 14,000. I mean, I would like it to be, but it's pretty close. Anyways, welcome back, true believers and spectacular Spidey fans, to a really, really exciting Spider-Man PS4 101 episode. And oh my goodness, I don't think this day can get any better. I've already fanboyed out, of course, as you saw in the beginning intro, where James Stevenson and Brian Intar both mentioned the Spidey Squad, and James Stevenson, the community director at Insomniac Games, shouted me out, Vigilante Spider out, and the entire Spidey Squad out directly, and that is just insanely cool. James or Brian or anyone at Insomniac, if you are watching this, thank you so much. You guys are doing breathtaking, mind-blowing, awesome stuff working on Spider-Man PS4, and again, that's why the Spidey Squad and I always keep saying, hashtag Insomniac we trust. We know that you guys are going to do an amazing job, and everyone at Insomniac is putting their heart and soul into this game, and we can clearly see that every time we see more of it, and given this entire live stream, which you better watch, you will see great aspects of that. What I mean by that, recently, today, if you did not know, on November 3rd, 2017, Insomniac Games just did an entire Q&A live stream about the recent Spider-Man PS4 Paris Games Week trailer that was released from Insomniac at Paris Games Week, and it was incredibly cool. They answered a lot of fans' questions, broke down the whole trailer themselves, pointed out a lot of interesting Easter eggs, and clarified lots of interesting information that we did in fact have about the recent trailer and the stuff in the game overall. But please watch the entire live stream before you watch this video, because they do an incredible job of describing everything, going into detail about everything that was asked. Of course, they have to keep silent about a lot of things, but what was asked upon that they did in fact answer, they did an amazing job of going over it, and they will obviously describe all the information that I will go over way better than I ever will. And just a heads up, everybody, the Spidey Squad YouTube channel actually did in fact upload a new video recently in which a lot of Spidey Squad members discussed the new trailer for over an hour. You'll hear a lot of awesome Spidey Squad members just going over the trailer, what their thoughts are, and analyzing all the stuff that we did see in the trailer, and it is a great video. I'm going to leave it in the description, and go check it out. It is flat out awesome. Now, going into the live stream, everybody, is the first piece of information that we did get from Insomniac Games in regards to Peter's landlord, or someone that Peter may know in regards to his apartment. So, of course, since Peter Parker and Spider-Man's worlds will collide in the game, Peter Parker, as just simply Peter Parker, has to live in an apartment. And someone asked in the questions if we will see Mr. Dickovich make an appearance in the game. And, of course, even though Brian didn't answer it specifically with Mr. Dickovich, he did answer by saying that there will be a familiar face and some new faces in regards to where Peter is living. So that's really interesting to see, and maybe, like, for example, Stan Lee might be living in the same apartment complex as Peter Parker, you know, since Stan Lee did make a cameo appearance in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, and he's narrated quite a few Spider-Man games. Maybe we'll get some Stan Lee Easter eggs in Spider-Man PS4. That would be really cool, and I just can't wait to see what they're actually talking about, to see other people in the apartment complex that Peter's actually living in. Moving on to the traversal aspect in the game. So during the live stream, someone did in fact ask during the Q&A to Brian Intar about how the traversal will work in the game, and of course Brian Intar didn't fully go over the entire aspects of the game's traversal, but he did bring up really specific key quotes that he did say during the live stream. Specifically, that the traversal offers a unique sense of speed and will also offer a unique variety of animation. So that's the one complaint that a lot of people were actually saying during the E3 2017 gameplay demo, is that Spider-Man always looked like that he was doing the same exact pose in the air, but Brian just confirmed that there will be tons and tons of varieties of animations that Spider-Man will in fact do during the swinging. Again, will we be able to manually do air tricks or anything like that? We don't know, but I'm just very happy to see that there is going to be a lot of different fluidity and variety in regards to how Spider-Man will swing around New York City. And the 3 words that Brian did in fact bring up when talking about the swinging is actually flair, style, and expression. So that really goes into an interesting way in regards to how Spider-Man will in fact traverse around the city. Again, we have parkour, wall running, web swinging, maybe air tricks hopefully, so there's going to be a lot of different ways to go and try and swing around New York, and I'm very excited to see what they will be. Now this next point, everybody, might just be me looking into it a bit too much, but I found it really interesting when Brian Intar was actually talking about the upgrade system, and someone did in fact ask, will there be an upgrade tree or anything like that in regards to upgrading Spider-Man in Spider-Man PS4, and Brian said something very interesting. So he basically was saying that when you are playing the game, you will have tons of opportunities to unlock upgrades while you progress through the game, but the key word that he used when saying that is that you will unlock tons of upgrades to upgrade your Spider-Man. Not just to upgrade Spider-Man, but he used the keyword of your Spider-Man. So maybe the upgrade tree does exist, and maybe some people can have their Spider-Man focus more on stealth, or maybe they can focus more on trying to swing faster, or maybe he'll be more damaging during combat. Who knows? But I think the tease of an upgrade tree is very apparent, and that also goes with Ratchet & Clank and all the previous Ratchet & Clank games. There's always been like an upgrade tree for all the weapons that you can use in the games, so I would think they would try and implement that same system in Spider-Man PS4, and I know that they can do a great job of it. Now the next really exciting point, everybody, is in fact the confirmation of districts in Spider-Man PS4. So again, someone asked about how big is the map in Spider-Man PS4, and Brian said that it's definitely much bigger than Sunset Overdrive. Like we already know, the game is going to be 4 to 6 times bigger than the map of Sunset Overdrive. And again, we don't know if we can explore different islands in New York City. However, he did confirm districts, which is very, very exciting, because he was talking about how you can explore mainly where Hell's Kitchen is, and also the entire area where Central Park is. So that really excites me that he specifically mentioned some place like Hell's Kitchen, and of course the entire area surrounding Central Park that you can explore in Spider-Man PS4's New York City, and I can't wait to see, hopefully we can go to the other islands and see the other vastness of what New York City is going to offer in the scope of the map in the game. Now this is where we start to go into the part of the live stream where we also got Jacinda Chu, who is the game's art director, and John Paquette, who is the game's lead writer, and also Brian Intar and James Stevenson going over all the Easter eggs and little tidbits in the trailer. And the first part is actually when Mary Jane Watson does appear in the trailer, and they start to talk something really interesting about Mary Jane Watson. So it turns out when the game was first being made, they originally weren't planning on having Mary Jane be a playable character. They were, of course, just trying to see that Mary Jane could be a really important supporting character when playing the game, but then when they continued development, they actually saw that maybe they could implement Mary Jane in actually a unique way where the player could take control of her and try and see the game from a person's perspective that doesn't have any superpowers. Whereas, of course, Spider-Man is this great hero. He saves people on the daily. He's a super inspirational person overall. And then Mary Jane, someone who does not have any superpowers at all, would be very interesting for the player to experience. Kind of like the one section in Batman Arkham Knight where you could play as Jim Gordon, and that is kind of what I'm seeing they are doing with this, where you can play as Mary Jane, do some investigative work. Again, we don't know what the full capabilities of Mary Jane gameplay will be, but the fact that it is, in fact, a character we can play as with no superpowers, to see the world from a non-superpowered person's perspective, excites me a lot. And I can't wait to see what they fully do with her in the final game. Now, the next informational tidbit, everybody, is that everything in the Paris Games Week trailer was all in-engine. None of it was CGI at all. The entire thing, the whole part where Spider-Man's swinging, the part where Mr. Negative's on screen, every single shot in the trailer was all in-engine, which super duper excites me to no end. New York City looks gorgeous, Spider-Man's suit looks great, all the character models look fantastic, the action is out of this world, and I just can't wait to see how the final game is going to look, since they are in fact continuing to work on the graphics and all the set pieces that we see in the game so far. Now, the next piece to break down, everybody, is actually Peter Parker's bracelets, and what we have confirmed by Insomniac is actually that they are web shooters, which is what I and It's Your Boy broke down in the Easter egg video, and we were correct that they are in fact Peter Parker's web shooters. Now, you might be asking yourself, if there is web shooters, where's the trigger? Like, where's the trigger that he has on his hands? Since we see in another shot behind Peter's hands and wrists and like what we see, there's no like trigger connected to his web shooters, but what they said is that they are in fact a part of the web shooter that Spider-Man, when he goes to dress up as Spider-Man to try and go and fight crime, he can easily just take off his bracelets and attach it to his suit to go and fight enemies in the city, which is very, very cool and unique, and a really cool gameplay mechanic that they can hopefully implement within the story and main game overall. And I'm just really interested and very excited that they are putting that much detail into something small like Peter's web shooters. Next up, everybody, is the shot with Aunt May in the Fee Shelter talking to Peter, and the banner that we were talking about in the Easter egg video actually does turn out to be related to Aunt May. What our speculations were is that it was about the Fee Shelter, but actually where you see the banner right there, it says thank you for 5 years of service. That actually relates to Aunt May volunteering / working at the Fee Shelter for 5 consecutive years, and it's very cool to see that history being implemented with Aunt May and her connection to Martin Lee and the Fee Shelter overall, and seeing how Peter Parker pays a visit to her at the Fee Shelter because of this specific point in time during the story of the game is very interesting to see, and I can't wait to see the continuation of this part of the story in the final game. Now, next up, everybody, is actually a unique story point that, of course, has to do with Peter Parker winning and Spider-Man losing, and Spider-Man winning and Peter Parker losing. That goes with the same thing of when their worlds collide. That's the best stories that you can have with Spider-Man, and Insomniac showcased an example of this during the Paris Games Week trailer, and now we can kind of get a bit more of an insight in regards to when the story takes place in the game. So basically, a scene where Spider-Man wins is when Fisk is arrested. That whole shot is where Spider-Man finishes defeating Fisk within his apartment, and then he in fact gets arrested by the police. Then we see Peter Parker losing, because in the shot where Peter Parker is entering this apartment emptied out with an eviction notice on the door, we thought that it was actually Peter Parker entering an apartment that he was going to move into. But it turns out that Peter Parker actually got evicted from his own apartment. So that might say to me that maybe he actually gets evicted near the end of the story, or maybe it is during the beginning of the game. We might have to, like, bunk mates with Mary Jane or something, or, maybe go back to Aunt May's or something like that. That'd be very interesting to see. Or maybe Peter Parker will, in fact, have to stay at the Fee Shelter for a certain time. That would actually be very interesting to see Peter Parker down on his luck with the classic Parker luck, and he's actually homeless, if that is the case, which would be very interesting to see, and that's really cool that they're going that hardcore into the Peter Parker aspect of the game. Now, the next point that Brian Intar and everyone else discussed during the part of the trailer breakdown, everybody, is actually Peter Parker gameplay, and they specifically mentioned Peter Parker going to work, and of course his work being that of a scientist. Now, what we've seen so far is Peter Parker exploring the Fee Shelter, talking to Aunt May, meeting with Miles, talking to Martin Lee, which is all really cool to see, but I'm really interested to see what the scientist aspect of the game will be, where Peter Parker does in fact go to work as part of the Peter Parker gameplay, which Insomniac Games confirmed during the live stream, which is very cool to see when Peter Parker will in fact go to work at his full-time scientist job. And I really, really hope that we can do some cool interactive things, like in the Fee Shelter, Peter Parker was talking to Martin Lee. Maybe as the scientist, we can talk to people like Dr. Connors, Alistair Smythe, Max Modell, tons of other people, and I just really am excited to see where this whole story point goes with Peter Parker gameplay in the game. Now, another small piece of information, everybody, that's very exciting to know is Miles Morales' confirmed age. Since we know Peter Parker has been Spider-Man for 8 years, and he is 23 years old, it is now confirmed that Miles Morales is 15 years old. We already knew beforehand that it was confirmed that Miles was younger than Peter, but now we have an actual official age for Miles Morales, which is in fact 15 years old, which is funny because that's the exact same age when Peter was bitten by the spider, which is very interesting to see that connection that they have with each other. And another really interesting point, which some of you guys may be kind of really excited about, really bummed out about that they didn't fully go through with it, or just very interested in, is that Insomniac did confirm that Miles Morales wasn't originally supposed to be in the game at all. But then when they kept developing the game, and they saw that they were really trying to focus hard on Peter Parker's story, and that the fact that this game is in fact a Peter Parker story, they saw that another character like Miles could actually try and implement that story a bit further, and try and show another side of Peter that we've never seen before. So that's why Miles Morales is in the game, to really showcase that whole dynamic of Peter Parker's importance just as much as Spider-Man's importance. Again, we don't know if we will play as Miles, but the fact that his dynamic with Peter is very important to the game excites me a lot. And here's easily the best part of the live stream, everybody, is when Brian Intihar himself confirmed that that one building that we saw in the second scene where we see New York City in the trailer is in fact the Sanctum Sanctorum, the Sorcerer Supreme's house, Doctor Strange. Oh my god, that is insanely awesome that we now have official confirmation that Doctor Strange exists within Spider-Man PS4's universe. And who knows, like they said, that even though to not expect, obviously, a lot of different characters like Fantastic Four or the Avengers to show up, just know that there are, in fact, other superheroes that do, in fact, exist within Spider-Man PS4's world. And right now, we know for one fact is that Doctor Strange is one of those heroes, and that's really, really awesome. And kind of to further that, they said that maybe not, they were kind of teasing it in a really funny way, but maybe or maybe not, when Spider-Man's swinging past the building, he may, like, comment on it or kind of, like, maybe reference something in regards to Doctor Strange or the Sanctum Sanctorum. So that's really, really exciting and just awesome to see that this is, in fact, Marvel's New York, that will, in fact, have lots of references to other superheroes. And maybe, again, this might further the fact that maybe the Avengers project is, in fact, connected to Spider-Man PS4's universe. Who knows? But again, I'm really, really pumped for this one little reference to Doctor Strange in the game. Now, the next piece of information that's really interesting to me, everybody, is the fact that Brian Intar confirmed that people and cops in New York City, even though Spider-Man has been around for 8 years, still have mixed feelings about him. So that goes what we saw with the Daily Bugle newspaper of threat or menace, Spider-Man, and the cops. Some of them think he's a hero, some of them think he's a menace, and same thing with the civilians. They think he's a really nice guy or actually just a nuisance in the city. And one of those people, Yuri Watanabe, like we know earlier, is one of the cops who does in fact believe that Spider-Man is a good guy, trying to make the city a better place, and that's why she's helping him in the demo, and what she will be doing, helping him throughout the game. And that's really, really cool to know that the citizens in New York still have a mixed feeling about Spider-Man. Even after this whole time, they still don't know what to think of him. Some people are with him, some people are against him, and of course, hopefully, if JJ is in this game, we already know what he's going to be thinking about our webhead. Now, the one thing that gets me very happy, everybody, is when Jacinda Chu started to talk about the graphics and the suit textures in the story trailer, where some people thought that the suit looks a bit too plasticky or weird. And again, like they say, they're working on the game every single day, and they know that the graphics are kind of a little bit, wonky with the terms of lighting. So they said, specifically, Jacinda Chu was talking a lot about the ins and outs of the development team in regards to the textures, the lighting, how the suit looks in different, times of day and all that. So just watch her talking about the suit. She does a great job of explaining it than I ever will be able to. But basically just know that they keep making improvements to the lighting, the textures, and everything in regards to the graphics of the game, and that just very much makes me very happy. Now, another piece of information that Insomniac brought up is actually that Mr. Negative, throughout the story, will in fact grow stronger, because the shot where Mr. Negative shoots that entire blast of negative energy towards Spider-Man in that server room, Mr. Negative keeps growing his powers every single time Spider-Man and him fight in the city, and every time we see Mr. Negative in the game, he's going to keep getting stronger and stronger and stronger, and that's really intimidating to hear that he already what looks like to be doing tons of damage to the city, but the fact that he's going to be even more powerful excites me a lot. Now, a point that's very interesting to know about is the exact timeline in when this game takes place, and that would be when the game actually releases is in 2018, so it's like real time. So when the game in fact comes out in 2018, the game itself will in fact take place in the year of 2018, so that's just really interesting to know, and it's a cool little tidbit that they did in fact bring up in the live stream. And now we get to the pictures of Peter Parker's apartment, where we see lots of familiar faces, and now we have confirmed names for all of them. So on the left side, of course, this was already kind of a given, is that on the left we see Aunt May and Uncle Ben. Those are now confirmed by Insomniac Games themselves that those are in fact Aunt May and Uncle Ben in that picture, and that's really sweet to see. But now we have this picture on the right here, which we did not know for sure who it was, but now we know when this picture was taken and who is actually featured in this picture. So from right to left, we have Peter, Mary Jane, and Harry Osborn when they were in high school. This was actually when they were taken in high school, when they were all graduating in high school, and that's really cool to see. Of course, MJ looks a bit younger, Harry is in the glasses, and Peter's on the far right, as you can see, and that's really cool to just know for sure now that those are in fact Harry, MJ, and Peter in that photo in this shot of the trailer. And hopefully we get to actually see Harry Osborn in the game at some point as well. Now, next up is actually Padded Pete himself, the Shocker, and Brian Intar confirmed that is in fact Herman Schultz as Shocker and not Montana from like the Spectacular Spider-Man series, where it wasn't Herman Schultz in that show, it was someone else like Montana. But now we know for sure that it is in fact the good old Herman Schultz in the sweet Mr. Triple Ply costume that is fighting Spider-Man in what appears to be a bank. which is really awesome to know for sure that is in fact the OG Shocker. And that brings an end to my recap on all the confirmed information that Insomniac Games did give us during the Spider-Man PS4 live stream. It was a fantastic stream. Again, thank you so much, James Stevenson and Brian Intar, for just mentioning and shouting out the Spidey Squad, and me specifically. It's so awesome to see that you care about the community of fans that are excited about this game, and it's just really awesome to see how much passion that is going into this game. And again, hashtag Insomniac We Trust. Everyone in the Spidey Squad thinks they're going to do a great job, and this live stream, again, was fantastic. Please go watch all of it. And just a little fun fact, everybody, is that Ratchet & Clank Up Your Arsenal is now 13 years old today. This is its 13th anniversary today. This is my favorite Ratchet & Clank game of all time, and it's just really cool to see that this is in fact its 13th anniversary. And I just thought I would put that in the very end of the video. It's awesome. That game's awesome. Insomniac Games is awesome. Spider-Man PS4 is awesome. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for watching. Stay spectacular, Spidey fans. Peace out.
New York City.
Yeah.
Jacinda, beautiful environment art, Empire State Building, Chrysler Building,
Birds.
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 Oh.
Boats.
Wait,